It's time for this week's CEO's blog. John, thanks for joining us once again. Let's talk about Newcastle. The Paceway up there has been in the headlines of late, and just yesterday the state government announced its plans for a sporting complex where the Newcastle International Paceway is.
Yes, and Amanda, they released a very clear and graphic account, their vision, their concept of the area, and what is missing off that is the harness racing track. So whilst Tony Drew and Jim Bell were there, they were briefed before the media were briefed on this announcement. It's something that we've been working with the government, Venues New South Wales, with what is the future around the harness racing track at the Hunter Stadium precinct.
Okay, so what are the plans going forward following this announcement?
Well, what we've made it very clear to government is that there is a lease in place. The club holds a lease until 2027. Of course, harness racing and the club certainly doesn't want to stand in the way of what is positive and good progress. But to do that, we must be assured that the future of harness racing in the Hunter region will be as good as, if not better than, what it currently is. So we'll go through the process. There's a 3-month comment period to come back to the government, and I'm sure anybody that's wanting to comment can comment there. But we have been in discussions with government for more than 2 years on this special project. I must add that at the announcement yesterday, there's no government commitment to funding for a revitalisation or a change to what happens in that precinct. So it's got quite a few steps to go. So nobody should be alarmed that there won't be harness racing there every week, maybe twice a week, at the Hunter Stadium precinct, Newcastle International Paceway. They'll be racing there for 1, 2, 3, 4, who knows how many more years. But we will do everything to protect the harness racing in the Hunter. Okay,
good. So nothing to be worried about there. Let's on the topic of Newcastle, there was a bit of a nasty fall there last week. Four horses came down. All horses came out of the incident okay, and most of the drivers as well, apart from Ben Woodsford, who underwent an operation on his broken wrist on Monday.
Yes, well, it was a nasty fall. But I must say that we look at all these things, and we have best practices in place. But there was a little bit of conjecture on social media, quite welcome as long as it doesn't become derogatory, like some of it did become derogatory. People that don't understand exactly how the processes are. But we were already in discussions, Harness Racing New South Wales, with the UHRA about the ambulance service, and it's a good service, it's a best practice service, as to how we can improve it. Because if anything can be improved, well, we must improve it. So we'll have those continuing discussions. In fact, we've got it slated for the agenda at our next meeting. We have a meeting with the UHRA every 2 months. Our next meeting is on the 19th of July. So it's a work in progress. We have accidents, as the horsemen know. There is a risk factor with racing fast horses around tracks, and there are incidents, none of them deliberate, that cause these accidents, but we always are looking at what we can do and if we can do it better.
Okay, so what were these social media comments around?
They were about whether the process is perfect, and we will continue to discuss that with the relevant body, and that's the UHRA. And if anybody has, from the participants' point of view, has a point on that, they should contact Darren McCall, the president of the UHRA, or Wally Mann, the secretary, and express those. We're not deflecting or deferring or pushing back anyone from making a valid comment. As I said, derogatory comments don't get anywhere with anybody, really, and they're not warranted. So good, constructive comments are certainly what we're looking for. They can make them direct here, and I have had a phone conversation with both Ricky Olch and Darryl New on the matter of last Saturday night at Newcastle, and we'll continue that dialogue, that conversation about how do we do things and how do we do them best practice.
Of course, Darryl, one of his horses was involved in the incident.
Yes, and quite good. And then Darryl came up with a very good point, and which many of the participants may not know, the owners and trainers. He was concerned that he'd travelled all the way to Newcastle and was going home at a great cost and no benefit. But Harness Racing New South Wales introduced a policy whereby if a race meeting's abandoned and horses have arrived on course, or a race is being run and that race is abandoned, there is compensation. So he was pleased to hear about that, and of course with the sulky recovery scheme, the HIRIC and in particular the UHRA have petitioned strongly to increase the coverage in that situation as well. So everything is there as long as we go through a proper and process where we get along, we have the discussion and we make sure that it's quite convivial at all times.
Well, the updated sulky recovery scheme can be found at the Harness Media Centre as well. Let's talk about Tamworth. You, yourself and the board were up at Tamworth yesterday. Let's talk about what the arrangement is. We've got Paceway Tamworth and also the Tamworth Harness Racing Club.
Yeah, the board members, they're taking a very keen interest, as they do in every track, but a keen interest in Tamworth because it's something new. We've purchased the property. We have a fair bit of work to do there on that, and we had to delineate between what is the harness racing activity and what is the great possibilities in the rest of the property. And it's quite clear there. The Tamworth Harness Racing Club has a licence agreement with Harness Racing New South Wales to conduct harness racing meetings on the property. Now, Harness Racing New South Wales, through their new manager up there, Joe Shepherd and Matt Alford, will also as we say, run the rest of the complex. And that includes the training centre and, most importantly, the upkeep of the track. So we'll apply the best procedures in looking after the track so that when the Harness Racing Club steps in on a race night, they've got a track ready to go with and they run the business from the harness racing side. But Harness Racing New South Wales, or our representatives, will run the rest of the complex. So it's nice and clean, and it's a great effort by the club to be able to sign off on this deal.
Okay, well, we've heard a lot about Tamworth in recent weeks. How about Wagga? Where are we at with that new track development?
I wish I could be far more positive about Wagga. We've been extremely frustrated by delays, and we will clearly say these are delays coming out of certain government authorities that need to check off what we're doing there precisely. We are building on a floodplain, we do know that, but the government authority, Water New South Wales, needs to be sure that what we're doing won't affect our neighbours, of course, and we need to know that as well. So just another little delay, but the track, there will be a track in Wagga. It'll be a great 1,000 metre track. It'll have fantastic facilities, but we just have to be just a little bit more patient.
Okay, and one more thing before I let you go, whips. Let's talk about whips.
Well, whips, everybody's talking about whips to a certain extent, whether they're overused or underused, but what Harness Racing New South Wales has done, and in collaboration with our horsemen, our UHRA, we have called a meeting for next Wednesday at Tabcorp Park Menangle. There's actually two sessions. Early sessions, we'll talk about the rules and penalties. That will be left to the administrators to a certain extent, but in the afternoon, we will be trying to develop and know perfectly what this wrist-only action is, and that may take 2 or 3 hours of watching different drivers apply the whip to Buddy. We won't have any horses there to put the whip on. We'll have Buddy, the horse. We won't have Trigger there, of course, either to be whipped, but we'll have Buddy there, and we'll see drivers of all sizes, genders, abilities, of course, because we need to deliver something that's very fair and very reasonable to the drivers, but most importantly, what is acceptable in this modern age to a wider community. So I encourage all drivers, 1 o'clock, the stable area at Tabcorp Park Menangle, to come along and offer their good input to what it is. It's not about being critical of anybody, it's about coming to an end result which satisfies all concerned. So yes, I encourage those drivers from anywhere in New South Wales to attend.
So Harness Racing New South Wales stewards will be present at this meeting as well?
In the morning they will. In the afternoon they can be, but it's more about the afternoon session is about the drivers and how they apply the whip. Now, what has been put on the table? Well, they can only use it in a certain way. But we have tall drivers, we have short drivers, we have wide drivers, and we have thin drivers. We have male drivers and female drivers, and they all apply the whip in a different way, and they all have their limitations. So we have to make sure that what we do is fair to all those types of drivers and size of horses. We have big horses and we have short horses. So it'll be about getting it right. All this will be put under vision so we can review it and refine it and take it forward, because it is the right move forward for harness racing in New South Wales to be able to deliver what the participants want and what's best for the interests of the code. But what is also of relevance, we've invited representatives from all the other states, if they wish, in the administration line and in the driver line, to attend also, to try to have a truly national approach to this. But I will repeat myself, Harness Racing New South Wales has made a decision that we will look at our state and we'll abide with the social outlook that we don't need to be cruel, and we're not cruel to horses, but we need to have a social acceptance. So that's what we're working towards.
Okay, look forward to it. Thank you for your time, John, and we'll catch up again next week.
Most certainly.